Hi everyone, so what I want to talk to you about today is boundaries, and in particular why having a lack of boundaries almost killed both me and my business. And I'm not being dramatic about this. I actually had some evidence to suggest that there was some quite serious health issues going on as a result of my lack of boundaries, and I just feel so motivated and inspired to get this message out into the world. I obviously have for many years wanted to share that message that your life can be different, that you can step into your magnificent sensitive superpowers, and having this awareness about boundaries for me was just completely life-changing. So it was 2020 and I started to work with an amazing health coach, Ollie Matthews. He's a good friend of mine. He's going to be on the podcast, and he got me measuring my blood sugar levels. And what we found, so we were focusing on the health aspects of what was going on for me and my body and me. So at the time I was quite overweight, I was quite stressed, I wasn't getting the movement in my day that I needed, I didn't have the energy to work. So he got me measuring my blood sugar levels, and what we found was incredible and has given me evidence to back up the energy in terms of what physically goes on in our bodies when we take on too much energy, when we don't honour our sensitivities, when we don't use our sensitivities as gifts, and when we're just simply taking on too much energy, when we're putting ourselves into overwhelm. So I did a post on Instagram about this. It was really popular. I've had people message me about it. So I decided to do a video to go a bit deeper into this and have a bit of a conversation around this. So what we basically found is day to day I was tracking my blood glucose levels. I was tracking fasted. I was tracking them after eating. And the days where I really honoured my boundaries, I put my body first. I prioritised pleasure, I prioritised self-care. When I say self-care, it wasn't just having a bubble bath at the end of the day, it was moment to moment. Okay, I need to move my body now. I need to eat now. I need to stop working now. Honouring those basic needs, but also going above and beyond that. So as you know, my background is in positive psychology, which is just incredible research of how we shut down that fight or flight response. So really practicing what I preach there in terms of upping that positive emotion in our lives as well. So I was, whether that was like dancing or journaling out a page of gratitude, like really upping those things, kept my blood sugar really level. Now in 2020, this is when I was still kind of playing with that concept of boundaries, and I'd sort of got some in place. Some were still a little bit leaky, particularly with regards to things like my work days. And what would happen some days is I'd have a work day, then something would happen with family and I'd need to go there, or someone would ask me to do something, or a friend would ask for something, and I'd drop everything and go and do this thing. And these weren't emergencies. Obviously an emergency I would do that, but it wasn't necessarily something that was like an essential thing for me to do. And what we found is the days where I didn't have boundaries, anywhere I overstepped my own boundary, I allowed something to come in. I went to a really busy place, or perhaps went to several busy places, or had had a few things, and it was much easier to track in 2020 as well because we were mainly in lockdown. So the things that I were doing were very few and far between. But when I did do certain things, that's when my blood sugar level spiked. And in particular, coming out of lockdown and going back out into the world again, a lot of people got in touch and wanted to meet up and wanted to do things in person again, and that had a huge impact on my blood sugar levels. Now, we're not just talking little spikes. My blood sugar levels were pre-diabetic. So basically, if I'd have carried on with my lack of boundaries the way that they were, the other thing I'll mention as well is when I went to London, and I used to work in London in my corporate job, they were super high then as well. So if I'd have continued that, I would have ended up on the road to diabetes, to being in really poor health. So that was the evidence. That was what that suggested. I was tracking that daily, and the days where I took care of myself and I cleared out energy quickly, I moved my body, I brought those positive psychology elements in, my blood sugar was steady, and the moments where I didn't, and I allowed those boundaries down even just a little, or I didn't take care of myself, my blood sugar would be pre-diabetic. So it was having a huge impact on my health. So the reason that I'm sharing this is because it's not to scare you, but for me, as someone who's a scientist at heart, I've got a background in social sciences, in positive psychology. And for me, like, I want to know what's actually going on in my body, what's going on in my brain, what the data is saying to back up how I'm feeling. So you might not need that data, you might not need that scientific understanding. For you, the feeling may be enough for you, but I wanted to share this just because this gave me data on actually what a lack of boundaries was doing for me. Because we all hear about boundaries and it sounds like this great thing to do. Yeah, we should all have boundaries. Yeah, it's good for my business, it's good for me, it helps me here, it helps me there, it helps align my energy. But what is it actually doing to your body? Okay, so this is why I wanted to share this. So what did I do about it? So I had this awareness. What did I do about this? Because you might be thinking, if this could be me, what are the things that I can do here? So firstly, I hired a coach. I'm not saying this has to be me. I do have spots on quantum alignment. We close this Thursday. I hired a coach for accountability on my boundaries, because just saying it to myself wasn't enough. I was still letting myself down. There was moments where it was good, there was moments where it wasn't so good, there was moments where my people-pleasing tendencies would come in. This is obviously in a better place now, but this is where I was at in 2020. So I hired a coach and she kicked my ass and made sure I was in that place of really epic self-love, and I was putting myself and my business first, because I was saying things like, oh, I haven't achieved this result that I want to achieve in my business. And then it would be like, okay, well, let's look back over that last week. Right, well, your friend, I'm going to make up an imaginary name, your friend Lucy called you, and you dropped everything and went to see Lucy, and you didn't work on your business that day. So you need to take some accountability here. So I hired a coach. So that was the first thing. I cut ties with a lot of connections and a lot of areas I was giving my energy away. So thankfully lockdown really helped me to see this and feel this, but it was things like going to networking meetings that were draining me, a lot of friends who weren't in alignment anymore, a lot of connections and clients that weren't in alignment anymore. Anything that I felt I should be doing, I stopped doing, and just followed everything that was a sacred yes for me, that lit me up, and followed that joy, okay? Whether that was dancing, whether that was going for a walk, whether that was working with a certain type of client, talking about something in my business. And I created energy clearing practices. So having this awareness that everything is energy and energy is affecting my health, it's like, right, well, we need to clear this out. Similar to how we would clear out toxins, if we'd had a weekend where we drunk some alcohol or eaten some bad food, and then we would spend the week, this used to be me, it's through my old life, right? Clearing that all out. We want to do that with energy. So if there are these situations which do occur where we do have to sometimes, we might have to do certain things, we want to clear that out when it does happen. Or sometimes we'll go somewhere and it's busier than we expected, or it doesn't feel as good as we expected it to feel, and we might then need to do some clearing afterwards. So this was the point where I created that energy clearing meditation for you, which you will have access to for free. If you haven't got a copy, let me know. Just clearing it out, and that made a huge difference to my blood sugar levels. My income then skyrocketed after that, because I was taking care of myself and I was actually receiving what it was that I needed to give myself, in terms of those boundaries, in terms of that self-care, in terms of that joy. I then replaced my corporate income plus more. I was in corporate in 2019. And that's because my nervous system regulated, because I enabled myself to be safe. I was telling my body that I was safe because I was actually taking care of it. All those times I hadn't actually taken care of my body, it was saying, body, we're not safe here, our needs are not being met, okay? So that was the real basic level of it. I also attracted the most incredible clients. So I started to work with more yoga teachers and other coaches who were ready to meet me at that level and were ready to step into that place of energy alignment. And some of those clients received some incredible results. So one of my clients, her income was 10 times higher when we worked together. Another one of my clients, when they used to do my energy clearing meditation, every time they would get a new client drop in. So some really incredible results happened as a result of that. And as I shared with you the other day, I moved into my 5-year vision in 2 years' time. So because I was focused in on the quantum as well, and all of the practices that I teach in quantum alignment, I moved into my 5-year vision in just 2 years, which was to live here by the sea with my soulmate, with all our animals. So that dropped in really quickly as well. And that is because of having that awareness. But I don't think I would have had, I don't think I would have had such a deep level of awareness drop in if it hadn't have been for those health issues. So that really was my kind of universal like truck that was like barging through and saying, this is enough now. You now need to do something about your boundaries because this is now affecting your health. So I hope if you're watching this resonates with you in some way. If you need any support, reach out to me. And I want to say that actually, if you don't put these boundaries in place, this is not me being dramatic, but there will be no you. There will be no business. So this impact that you want to have on the world, the shifts and the ripples that you want to make on the world cannot happen if your health is plummeting, if your business is plummeting as a result of that, because there is no you, there is no being of service to others and helping the world if there is no health and if there is no boundaries. So this is super important, because I know if you're watching this, you've got those big dreams and visions, and you know that there's a different way to use those sensitive gifts. And this is another thing, right, that I just want to end on, is that your sensitive superpowers are here for you. They're here for you to feel what's going on in the world, to feel what's going on with clients, to tune in deeply onto that level of what do we need? What do we need? Because if you're watching this and you're going to be a sensitive leader, and not everybody might be as sensitive as you, and that's what you're here to do. And this is shown time and time again throughout tribes in the past, that, you know, the sensitive leader was there to feel into what was going on and to be able to share that back to the collective. So you cannot do that if you are not taking really good care of yourselves and setting those firm boundaries. So you are here to be that leader. You are here for that purpose. You are here to walk a new path. So you need to have those boundaries in place. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you need any support, just let me know.